Hello and welcome to Road to October, a librarian reviews horror literature. I am so excited to be here with all of you today. We are getting close to the middle of October, all the good spooky stuff out there, movies, books, films, it's so much fun. Favorite time of the year, hands down. So today I have a ghost story to share with all of you. I thought it was very apt for the season. So this is kind of a more modern take, a more modern look at the good old-fashioned ghost story. So can't wait to share this with all of you. The title of the book we're going to be looking at today is Infidel by Pornsak Pichetshote. And it's just a little bit about this book. We'll get a more in-depth review, but just to put it up there up front, this is a graphic novel. So for those of you who aren't familiar, it's a comic book. When comic books come out in small little books, monthly or whatever, and you collect them, oftentimes they'll then collect all the episodes, all the issues, and put them in a thicker book. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Again, this is Infidel, and this is a graphic novel. Now, some of you may be like, oh no, a comic? Absolutely. Graphic novels are amazing. A lot of good films and TV come from comic books. Some recent examples would be The Watchmen. There's a TV show right now, The Boys, I believe it's called, another graphic novel. Preacher, there's so many out there. And so it's a really unique form. It is a combination of the writing and the literature, and also a combination of the art. So it's a slightly different method of storytelling, but it's not any less effective. It can be a very powerful way to get a story across. You just have to take your time with it. You got to kind of look at it a slightly bit different. Enjoy the art. Take a moment with each frame and just digest it all, because it's working on multiple levels. A little bit different than we would with a book. With the book we're reading through and we're putting all of our own imagination in. But this is a combination of the writing and the art together telling the story. So it's very good stuff, and I'm super excited to share this with you. A little bit more about Pornsak. He was an editor for DC Comics. They have kind of a sub-imprint called Vertigo. Vertigo was for DC Comics. That's kind of where they put the more adult comics. Some bad words, that kind of thing. Again, definitely aimed more at adults, and it was called the Vertigo, DC Vertigo. So some books that he did there, he was an editor. He worked on things like Sandman and Swamp Thing, very famous books. He worked for an editor for DC for quite some time, and then he switched actually to the DC TV channel that they have now, and he worked on shows, editing there. So Infidel is his first full book as a writer. It is actually let out by Image Comics. So Pornsak Pichetshote wrote this, Thai American, just a great, worked in comics for years and years and years, but this is his first attempt as a writer for comics. So it's great. Second, I want to mention briefly Aaron Campbell. Again, comics work on multiple levels. It's not just the writing, it's also the art. So we definitely need to take a minute to talk about the artist, Aaron Campbell. He's worked on everything from Batman. He's worked on Green Hornet, so many different comics, drawn so many different iconic characters that we all know. Harley Quinn, he's drawn several times. So just a very iconic comic book artist. So the two came together and created this book, and there's just, it's pretty cool. So we'll get into it right now. Infidel, again, published by Image Comics. This is on NPR's selected for the 100 favorite horror stories of all time. This is a fairly recent book. I think it's only a couple years old. Already after so it originally came out as a comic series, and after the first issue came out, it was picked up for the film rights already. So just to give you an idea, people were very excited about this book. All the issues are now out, and it's collected in graphic novel form. It is available in libraries. The Fresno County Public Library System has it if you wanted to check it out. So let's talk a little bit about the book. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but I do need to try and hook you. I want you to be excited about this, or at least see if you're interested at all. So this is a take on a ghost story, classic ghost story, but with some modern updates. The main character is a Muslim American woman, and it shows her in a big city living there. She is married to someone who is not Muslim, and they had to, because of financial times, move in with his mom. The mom has made some inappropriate comments in the past, and so the whole living situation is a little bit uncomfortable. There's also a daughter involved. The daughter is actually stepdaughter, so the main character is not directly related to her, but very much in love with the daughter and taking care of her. So it's really cool. You have these three very strong female characters, and we're seeing the dynamics between them. So they're living in this apartment complex, and there's people of many different races and beliefs in this apartment complex. And that's kind of where things start. The way the story is told, the way it plays out on the page, we can see different thoughts from different people playing out. So these ghosts start to appear, to rise and haunt our main character. But there's more to it. It's not just this ghost story. There's very relevant racial topics, religious topics, current events that are very important to this, and the ghosts and the horror and the trauma is a way to highlight those things and talk about them. The book can be very scary at times. Some of the pictures that you'll see on the page are quite horrific. Some of the things that happen are awful, but it's a good story and it'll draw you in. It doesn't take too long to read. You could probably finish this in less than an hour. But it's really cool, and I think it's a great introduction, a great way for people who are not as used to the comic book form to get into this. So I highly recommend it. Like all good old-fashioned ghost stories, there's always more depth. There's more to be said, and the ghosts, the zombies are a way to get to that deeper meaning. So Infidel by Pornsak Pichetshote. So let's talk about the reviews, recommendations. Creep factor. I always mention creep factor because some people like really scary and some people don't. So what's the creep factor on this? I'm going to give this a very tentative 8. And the reason why is I don't think it's as scary as it could be, but there are some pretty rough moments. There's also the art. If you're not used to seeing art in this horrific way, some of these scary images, seeing some of these ghosts is pretty awful. It can be pretty striking. So I'm going to give it definitely an 8 for creep factor. It can be up there at moments. Some people might find it kind of, forgive the pun, but sort of comical, might find the art comical and not as scary. But if you really let yourself in the moment and enjoy the art, enjoy the story, it's quite frightening. So I'm going to give this a creep factor of 8. The writing, I think, is excellent. Again, for whatever reason, there's this sort of bias for comics that the writing is not as good, or it's not as complex, and that's just simply not true. And I think this is a good example, or a good way to kind of break that bias. Read books like this. This is one of many great ones out there. So I think this is a great introduction for people who aren't as used to comics to get into it. So the writing, I'm going to give this a solid 8. I think, there's slight dips here and there, just like anything, but overall the writing is strong. It's trying something new, taking old trends and trying to make them new, including the format and everything. So I'm going to give the writing a solid 8 pumpkins. So here's the kicker. Do I like it? I did. And this is another one I kind of stumbled on my own, just looking through the stacks, and oh, that looks different. Grabbed it, read it, and was absolutely in love with it. It's another graphic novel pushing the envelope. There's been so many, and for those of you who know comics, I could mention Sandman, and Watchmen, and all these others. But this is another one that's pushing the form, and I absolutely love that. So I think it's definitely worth checking out. And take NPR's advice. I mean, they gave it one of the top 100 best scary stories. So that's awesome. So, recommendations. What's my overall recommendation? I'm going to give this an 8. Again, I'm not going to give it a full 10. My reasoning why is some people just aren't used to that form, and so that might be somewhat off-putting. But for those who are willing to try something different, get into comics, this is a solid 8. It's a good story. It's a good read. I think you'll really enjoy it. This is the season for it. A nice spin on the good old-fashioned classic ghost story. So that has been Infidel by Pornsak Pichetshote. I hope you get it. I hope you enjoy it. It is available at Fresno County Public Library if you want to put it on hold, but I'm sure you can find it around you as well. Let me know what you think. Comment in the post in the comments below. Shoot me an email. So for this session, after this one, only 2 more books. So I'm planning. I have some pretty interesting recommendations for you. I can't wait to share them with all of you. But if there's something you would like to see, please let me know. Shoot me an email. Once again, my email is james.tyner, that's Tyner, at fresnolibrary.org. I'd love to hear from all of you. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know what you, if there's any recommendations you would like to, any books you'd like me to go over. I would love to do it. I just want to be able to interact with everybody. It's such an honor to be able to do this. So, once again, this has been Infidel by Pornsak Pichetshote, graphic novel, Road to October. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next time.